Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have with us here today Barry Thomsen. Wrote the Jelly Bean Principle, 105 ways to stand out from the competition. Barry, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Great. Good morning, Kurt. It's a great day to own your own business.
Oh, isn't it ever? I mean, even during economic times, the freedom of having that is absolutely tops on my list. Okay, now let's talk about this because we are in tough economic times, no doubt about that. Businesses are taking a beating, but what can businesses do to implement, maybe free, but in some cases maybe cost-effective ways to make their businesses stand out from the crowd? Because now it's more than ever important to do exactly that. How do they stand aside from the next guy down the street?
Well, status quo is out and change is in.
Yeah.
And most of the ideas in the book are inexpensive or free.
Right.
But you need to do something different. Customers are looking for value. They're still spending their money. They just want to make sure that they're getting the best deal that they can, new ideas. And you don't really have to reinvent the light bulb. You just have to make it a little better, a little more energy efficient, a little more cost effective.
Sure.
And offer them things that they just can't find everywhere.
Right, right. And isn't that critical? I don't know if we ever got away from customer service, got away from value and pricing and stuff like that. But I'm telling you what, consumers nowadays, they're professional consumers. And they can easily go online and do price searches. They can even shop by price search services that offer that out there. I won't name them. But they're professional consumers, aren't they? So businesses really need to be on their game if they're going to stay competitive and in the marketplace.
I always say, don't ever try to fool the customer because the joke will be on you.
Right.
They will find out. In this technology age, there's too many different ways. You have to be honest, sincere, and show them that you really care. And don't forget to say thank you every time they buy from you.
Sure. You know, I had a printing firm for 16 years, and one of the things that we did in that firm was when a customer came in or we saw a customer, we always said to them, we'll see you next time. We always implanted that thought that we look forward to serving you again in the future, whenever that future may be. Good idea?
Right, absolutely. You want to make sure they come back, and you also want to make sure that you get that word-of-mouth publicity. We don't call it advertising, we call it publicity.
Yeah.
Which is, you can't buy that. That's I don't care how much money you have, that's the most valuable thing you can get.
Sure, sure. Also in that business, and I just last point on this is that every order that we sent out, and this may be one of those free or almost free, cost-free, is we would put hard candy, a little packet of hard candy, 2, 3, maybe 4 little pieces, in every order that was delivered. And I swear, Barry, if we ran out of candy, we bought it by the pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds of it, okay? And if we ever ran out, we would know it right away, not because of we ran out, but because our customers would call and say, hey, where's that candy? They always...
First of all, you knew that they appreciated it.
Right.
And that's number one in the book.
Yeah.
Number one is give them more. It doesn't have to be anything fantastic. It's just that little bit of extra.
Right.
Surprise them with something.
Right. And they always look forward to it, and they always remembered it, too, by the way. All right, so what are solid ways, and I just mentioned one of them, that a business can build their reputation, attract new customers, and cultivate that loyalty that I just talked about?
Well, you got to know what your competitors are doing, and you either have to do it better or watch their websites. Make sure you're not chasing them to catch up.
Right.
And you have to be able to buy correctly. Sometimes if you're a real small business, you can group with other business and get a little buying co-op where you can get your prices down on larger quantities. And when you make promises, just don't break promises. And you need to take a few little calculated risks and things. This is not only for a brand new business, these are for existing businesses that just get a little jump start in a new direction. Because just because things are slow now doesn't mean you can't be great next month.
Right, right. Now, you know, that's very important. I think that you mentioned something here as far as, and it accents heavily on the customer service side. If you make a promise, keep it. I don't know how critical that some of these businesses out there, that they don't realize that. Even if you make a promise and you can't keep it, you call that customer and you say, listen, I know we promised it for this date, and you not only do you make it up to them as quick as possible, but you stay in communication with them and then deliver when you should, right? I mean,
right. You got to call back, even if you don't have the answer, to let them know. Otherwise, they think you forgot about it.
Right, or being evasive, which is even worse. Then they start feeling like they're not being taken care of,
or they're not important.
Even a quick phone call makes customers feel that, hey, listen, he took the time to call me. I'm not going to get it when promised. Things happen, but at least they took that time to call me and kept me informed. And then you better deliver, right?
Well, right. They expect, great service. It's not an advantage anymore. It's expected.
Sure.
Outstanding service might be a little extra. And outstanding means you really have to go out of your way to do things.
Now, is that what it takes for customer loyalty to be cultivated, and also the word of mouth? Because let's face it, it costs a business 8 times more money to advertise than it is to keep a business. So it's pretty critical for these businesses to cultivate that loyalty, and better yet, brand their name out there and bring in new customers. A lot of our new customers were coming in were by word of mouth.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the best thing you can ever get. And to get the word of mouth, I have a speech where I talk about Bill the fence guy that's trying to get your business, or a lady down the street who just got a fence built, and she said, this guy was outstanding. Who are you going to call? The one that your friend recommended, or the guy that's been calling you trying to get the business?
Right.
Word of mouth, there's just absolutely nothing better. But you have to do something special to get that.
All right, and that something special could be branding other products or other services. Is that correct?
Right. You can add new things. Just do what the competition is not doing.
Right.
And you must be able to have the latest products, which is another thing I always say is you should at least attend one trade show in your industry a year to see what's going on.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be behind everyone else. And by the time you catch up, those customers are loyal to somebody else.
Right. You potentially lose market share. And I think that's absolutely important, too, is the fact that you need to know what's going on in your market, not only in products, but also, as you mentioned earlier, your competition. What are they doing? Don't be chasing them. Just make sure you're always ahead of them, right?
Yes, right. And if you're not a one-person company, you have to get all your employees on your team. They all have to believe they're all going in the same direction. You have little rewards for them. It doesn't have to be a trip to Hawaii. Little things.
Sure.
Half a day off, a closer parking space.
Right.
A little sign up, and our employee of the month is so-and-so, and her picture up there.
Sure.
It makes them feel great, and they just keep doing it over and over for you.
Well, isn't that the sense of acknowledgement that they've accomplished something within the organization? I mean, that is also critical on the customer service side. People handling customer service are people handling pretty much any majority of any job in a business, right?
Yeah, you got to watch your frontline people, the people that are talking to your customers.
Right.
Everyone cannot do that job, and if they may be a great person, but that's not the job for them.
Right.
So you have to watch them, and if it's not, then you just exchange another job for them.
Well, it's funny that you mention that, because I have walked into businesses where I know first off, this guy needs to, or this gal needs to be in the back. They don't need to be at the front counter. This job is not for them, because they just, maybe by training or no training, just don't have the people skills to handle that retail space and handle those customers. Because, again, we get back to customer service, okay, and how that is handled. So you're absolutely right. I think some of those people don't belong up front, so it's key for a business to recognize who's up front and who's up back.
They may do a fantastic job in another job in your business. It's just that is not their particular expertise.
Sure. And this is where management's got to come in, too, and they have to be able to acknowledge who's key in what position. Isn't that critical for them?
Yeah, you can't assume everything is going right. You have to check it out, or have, depending on how large you are, have management people in between to give these suggestions to you.
Right.
Which is another idea which is one of the things in the book, is brainstorm with everyone. Sit down with your employees. They're the ones that are so close to your customers, they know more than you do in a lot of cases if you're not talking to them.
Right.
And brainstorm with your customers and your suppliers, because they know what your competitors are doing if they're supplying them also.
Right. All right. So end note on this is that companies should have a constant review of how their customers are being serviced, right?
Absolutely.
All right. There's a ton of great chapters. This whole book through and through is absolutely fantastic. The name of the book, folks, is The Jelly Bean Principle, 105 Ways to Stand Out from Competitors. In today's market, there's no doubt you need to have something to stand out. And if it's simply excellent customer service, that could be one item. If you're in an area where a lot of your competitors don't have good customer service, that may be one thing, okay? Today we have Barry Thomsen with us. Barry, thanks for being with us today, okay? Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kurt.
You're more than welcome. Head out today, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, just wherever you go. Make sure you pick up the Jelly Bean Principle.